Just take yourself off of mute or put them in the chat.
Hi, I do have a question. Can you hear me?
Sure. Yes, we can.
Perfect. For Milestone 2, I saw that you had written to use 3 sources. What if the 3 sources that we have don't have like dates far back, like earlier than the 2000s? Like, is it okay to use more sources?
Oh, you can definitely use more. We'll get into that specific question when we go into our review of the assignment, but that's a great question.
Okay, thank you so much.
So we will definitely cover Milestone 2 tonight, but any questions over the past like 3 weeks? And it's okay if you don't right now, because we're going to cover a lot of content tonight. And just go over some additional key ways to be successful. And Dr. Reed and I will also go over, some of the trends that we've seen, in class, and then also with Milestone 1. And if you all can just make sure you're muted, that way we don't get the feedback. Looks like everyone is now. All right, we'll give it 1 more minute and then we'll get started. So for those of you in my sections, and I know Dr. Reed also has as well, the documents we're going to review tonight, what we call our example documents, they've been posted in the announcements. So those should be available to all of you now. So just look in the announcements if you haven't seen them there yet.
And if you're in my section, they were posted towards the beginning of the course.
All right. Well, others will just be joining in as we get started with the conversation. All right. And as I stated at the start of the call, this meeting is being recorded tonight, so that way we can post it for your viewing later on if you wish to watch it again, but also for your peers who are unable to join us tonight. So if you don't want to speak because you don't want your voice being recorded, feel free to ask any questions you have utilizing the chat function. All right, so last call for any specific questions you have right now pertaining to the last 3 weeks before we kind of jump in with tonight's agenda. All right, Alexandria?
And good evening. One question I've had is I've noticed that some of the links are no longer operating. And I wanted to know, I know I've been able to navigate so far, but I'm just imagining as the course goes forward and then changes in new administration, is that something that'll get updated throughout the course? Or how do you advise us to navigate?
I'm going to assume that most of the links you're referring to are CDC links.
Yeah, yes.
Well, and yes, I don't have an easy response for you. So this is actually an update that Dr. Reed, correct me, but about 6 to 8 months ago, maybe. So within the last year, but at least 6 to 8 months ago, this is an update. The CDC decided to update every single one of their links. So the powers that be here at SNU had a mapping to everything, and clearly things have not worked out 100%. So it's not a broken, well, it is kind of a broken links issue, but it's the CDC and just some updating that they did, which impacts a lot of our links and things like that. But what I can tell you is I will go through the entire course again tomorrow and come up with any of the broken links and try to get those fixed as quickly as we can.
And I'll also add, and this is in no means a political statement, and I don't want it to turn into that, but many federal government websites have removed many things about cultural diversity, DEI, over the last few weeks.
Yep.
So if you see a link that's broken from that, uh, that's also part of a new administration we have no control over.
And thank you so much. That's a great point. And Kasalu, made a point too in the chat. In some cases, if you wait about 30 seconds, the link will redirect you to where you need to go. I know that's not true in all cases. Because a lot of times, we all do it. We click, oh, it's not working, and we get right out. But if you read what it's saying there, a lot of times it will say, hold tight, we're going to redirect you. Or if we don't redirect you, here's the link on where to go. So, always just kind of check to see what it's saying as well. But I will still go through and do another double check of the CDC links. So, and don't think that this is a precedent that's going to occur in all of your classes. I can tell you it probably will occur. And we do, we as in the collective we around courses, these courses get checked every single term. Unfortunately, when we're using external websites, we are at the mercy of those websites staying active. So, but these courses, they do get checked every single term before they go live to ensure things that are working. So I don't ever want you to feel like, oh my gosh, no one's checking or no one's doing this. We are checking. There are a lot of processes in place to make sure that, courses are, number one, current, but number two, functioning the way that they're supposed to. But like I said, with the CDC, they changed every single link that they had. So sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but we'll look into that. Just for those who may not have been in the first call, Dr. Reed and I will just do some very brief introductions. So for those of you on the call tonight, just so you know, just like the first live chat that we had, this live chat is open to all 4 sections of students. So myself, I have 2 sections. Dr. Reed has a section of students, and then Dr. Dial, she has a section of students. So you might see some familiar names, but you might see some names that you're not so familiar with. But we like to bring all students together. That way you're all getting the same opportunity to ask questions, hear review of these assignments and things like that. But with that, I'm Dr. Leanne Skane. I'm one of the full-time faculty members here at Southern New Hampshire University. I've been with SNHU for a little over 9 years, but full-time for just about 4 years. And Dr. Reed?
I'm Dr. Donald Reed. I'm adjunct at SNU, but one of the things that I love about SNU is they do support their faculty members and their students so well. Many things are kind of team-based, which I often feel that these courses are almost team-based. I've been here about 4 years with a background in senior services and mainly tobacco control.
Excellent. And Dr. Reed, you sit in West Virginia, right?
I do, yes, the
Yep.
state.
And I sit in the state of Texas, and my background related to public health has always had a nutrition focused, working with underserved and food insecure populations. So welcome again tonight. So before we jump into Milestone 2, just wanted to go over some just some ways to continue to be successful in the course or ways to help yourself be more successful in the course. And then just a few key reminders for this course and also for all of your courses in ways to be successful. So particularly in PHE 500, we are giving you a lot of resources to help you be successful with completing your milestone assignments, which will lead to your final project. It is quite evident to me with some of the submissions that I saw for Milestone 1 that many of those resources probably were not utilized. So just want to make sure that you are, number one, utilizing the template. I had a large number of students not use that template. So many of you got zeros and were asked to do it again. So the template is required and it's going to make your life easier. Number two, and the most important piece of information you need to look at when completing these assignments is the project guideline and rubric. That guideline and rubric tells you exactly what information we are looking for and then exactly how you are going to be assessed. So that is document number one. I would, like me here, I've got it printed out. And I would encourage all of you to print it out. So that way, when you're going through your assignment, you can literally scratch off as you complete the section. As you will notice, and you will notice this heavily in Milestone 2, just because there's one box doesn't mean it's just one piece of information you're sharing with us. Some of those boxes require multiple components. So that's why it's very important that you, if you don't want to print it out, and that's okay, at least have this saved so you can highlight on your computer when you've completed those sections. That way you can be sure you are answering all of the required components. So project guideline and rubric, essential piece of information for completing your assignments. Number three, attending these live chats. So for those of you that are here, kudos, big check. And for those of you who will watch this later on, again, another big check. And I would also encourage all of you in the group discussions where you are giving feedback on your peers, to your peers on their assignments, remind them about these live chats. You know, if you've attended a live chat and it's been a great resource, say, you know, hey, Tara, did you know that we have these live chats? Maybe you've attended. And if you haven't, it's a great resource and it's a great time to ask questions. So encourage your peers to attend. And number three, or number four, I should say, are these example documents that we've created and provided to you, where we're just basically, it's kind of an add-on to the project guideline and rubric, where we're kind of giving you examples on how to answer the questions. We're further giving you a resource on like maybe what the question is asking. So taking all of these pieces and, you know, putting them together, utilizing them to their full capacity will serve you quite well as you complete your assignments. And, you know, the guideline and rubrics, you're going to have this kind of same setup in all of your courses here at SNHU. So having the guideline and rubric in front of you, whether it's printed or digital, will serve you well. So be very familiar with what that document is asking you to do. And you will notice throughout your whole time here in the program, we use templates a lot, and they are required in all the classes. So definitely just be aware of that as well. Just, you know, two other reminders. Number one, the late policy. I was surprised in my sections, about 50% of students did not pass milestone 1 in on time. You know, and that's okay because you have that 1 week grace period. But just, you know, again, be aware that, you know, being tardy can, you know, really impact your grade. And then if you are kind of taking that full week to complete your work, it's then going to impact your group work, and you're potentially risking another, you know, kind of tardy point loss there as well. And you may not get the benefit of getting feedback from your peers. So, be mindful of the due dates. So all written assignments are due on Sunday. So milestones and journals are due on Sunday. If you have something that comes up, reach out to us before the due date. If we hear from you 1, 2, 3 weeks after the due date, it's really up to our discretion on how we want to handle that situation. So ideally, really reach out to us before the due date if something comes up and it's going to be a barrier to completing your work. We want you to communicate with us. That way we can help you if we can, or at the very least, give grace with that due date. And with discussions, there's been a lot of confusion this term on when the discussions are due, the individual discussion, the group discussion, and when everything is due even in the group discussion. So to simplify it, whether it's an individual discussion where you have the whole class or the group discussion where you're in your smaller groups, your initial or your very first original post is always due on Thursday. And your peer responses, and there's always going to be a minimum of 2, whether it's the individual larger discussion or the group discussion. There's always 2 peers that you need to respond to outside of your thread. The peer responses are always due on Sunday. So every week, your discussions, your original first discussion post is due on Thursday. Everything else is due on Sunday. So really watch those due dates, because tardiness for discussions starts on Thursday. So if you're late on Thursday and you start moving or creeping into the weekend, then you're going to start losing some points. And, with the discussions as well, once the active week is over, the discussion ends on a Sunday, unless you have made prior arrangements to us or with us, discussions are technically not allowed to be answered. You can answer it. You can continue a conversation with your peers by all means,